Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel, and we're here with our first news show of the year. Really looking forward to getting into it. Plenty to talk about, and as people can see from the thumbnail, we're talking about Manchester United, and obviously on the back of a very, I won't say good performance yesterday, but a good result, a really good result. And obviously Manchester United are into the semi-final of the FA Cup. So we have plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about United and Ten Hag specifically, how well of a job he's doing as Manchester United manager. Is he the next best manager in the world? And I know that's a very forward-thinking question, but he's certainly shown in the short period of time that he has been in charge of Manchester United how good he is and how much potentially has going forward as Manchester United manager. So we'll talk about him. We'll talk about, the are we ahead of schedule? We've also got things to talk about in relation to the potential takeover of Manchester United. And we're going to talk as well about some transfer activity. And there's been some interesting words from some ex-Liverpool players, again, in relation to Casemiro. As we know, he's suspended at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how we get on in the upcoming games without Casemiro. As we know, he's going to be a big loss to us. But we dealt with it before, so let's hope we can deal with it again. You know what I mean? But look, we're going to kick things off, guys, and we're going to start with this man, Erik ten Hag. What a great job he's been doing as Manchester United manager. I have to say, it's been so impressive. And look, we knew. Well, not that we knew, but given the fact that last season was so poor and that it was such a negative atmosphere around Manchester United. There was no positivity. There was going to be, it was going to be a long process ahead for Manchester United to get back to where they wanted to be. So, it was a really dull and dark place to be in relation to being a United fan last season. And Erik ten Hag coming into Manchester United has absolutely revolutionized the club. He's set standards. He doesn't take any bullshit. He has a clear idea of what he wants to do, and he knows how to get the best out of players. And what a great job he's been doing. Chris is in. Good to see you, pal. Thanks for joining. I know it's an early start for you over in America, but I do appreciate it. But look, I mean, Ten Hag, what a great job he's been doing. And just to look at some of the stats of Ten Hag at the moment, and he's had 46 competitive games as Manchester United manager, as you can see on the screen. 33 wins, 6 draws, and 7 losses. And if we look, I mean, if we take the Premier League in particular, obviously we're sitting in third place. You would hope that top 4 is going to be, I won't say comfortable, but when you look at the teams around you, obviously Spurs slipping up on the weekend. Again, Conte absolutely, just throwing the ties out of the pram, which is, now I won't say I'm surprised to see that, but the extent at which he went on his rant was really, really surprising to see. But so look, it's within Manchester United's hands. We can see there 15 wins, 5 draws, and 6 losses in the Premier League. We're averaging 1.92 points per game, which is really, really good. And obviously, you look at other competitions there, the EFL Cup, obviously with cup competitions, we've won it, which means we haven't lost any games in it. And the FA Cup, obviously we're still in it, so we have 4 games played, 4 wins. And then when it comes to the Europa League, it's a very positive return as well. 8 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Now, obviously, we're in knockout stages now, so we can't afford any more losses because if we lose, we're gone. But it's been a great return, averaging 2.28 points per game on average. Obviously, cup competitions you don't get points from, but it's been really, really positive, I have to say. And I've been really impressed with him. And getting on to maybe the point, that I was trying to make previously, I think Manchester United, and I remember last year when we were looking at potential candidates for the job, and there was talks of Pochettino, there was talks of Antonio Conte, and Gary Neville was a huge advocate against the likes of Antonio Conte, but was a was very positive towards the likes of Maurizio Pochettino. Thank God we didn't go with Conte, and you would have to thank Spurs a lot in a way as well, because they have. By all accounts, they actually turned Erik ten Hag down. They didn't think he was up to their standards, and he didn't impress in an interview. So, I mean, we see the smiling face on him there in his Man United top. Happy days, because their losses are gain, because we can see where they are now, and the usual negativity that you get around Conte is coming to the fore again with them. So happy days. But look, I think if we're getting into conversations about Erik ten Hag and what he can potentially be going forward, and obviously the thumbnail and the title of it is Ten Hag best in the world, and I think he potentially does have the minerals to be the best manager in the world at some stage. Now, obviously, you're looking at elite managers at the moment: Guardiola, Klopp, Ancelotti, even at Real Madrid. Obviously, we don't hear as much about Ancelotti, given the fact that you're not watching La Liga week in, week out. But he's certainly up there, and given what he done with Real Madrid in the Champions League last year was really something special as well. But I do certainly think that Erik ten Hag has really, really performed well as Manchester United manager. And I think when you look at some of the things that he's had to deal with in such a short period of time as a Manchester United manager, and of course we know the main one is Cristiano Ronaldo and the debacle that went around with that. I think he dealt with it so well. He dealt with it so well in a way that he nearly didn't have to deal with it at all. He allowed Cristiano Ronaldo to, dig his own grave, really. And we know what happened with the interview and the backlash that came from it and all of that, and so I think he dealt with it quite well. I think at the start of the season, we mentioned it an awful lot in some of our lives and some of our shows, that I thought Erik ten Hag from day one didn't want Cristiano Ronaldo. I think he was happy to let him go if there was a suitable option for him there. I think maybe he got pressure from the board, from the Glazers, whoever it may have been, that no, Cristiano Ronaldo has to stay. He's an asset to the club in terms of revenue, jersey sales, all of this kind of thing. And Ten Hag said, okay, that's no problem. I still pick the team and I don't have to start him if I don't want. Obviously he missed preseason and all of that. And that was the first. And I know, obviously, it was a really tough time for Ronaldo. And I don't want to go back over too much. The loss of a child is tragic for anybody. But, as the season rolled on, and then all of a sudden, Ronaldo walks out, refuses to come on, all of these kind of things. And Ten Hag is just saying, okay, brilliant. You're making it a very easy decision for me. So I think he dealt with it really well and came out of it. And we can see, it would be a different story if we went on a really bad run of form and weren't winning, weren't in the top four, knocked out of competitions. But, we can see he made the right decision on the back of the performances that we've got from it. So, yeah, and another one, that you would have to say is the Harry Maguire situation, and obviously Harry Maguire is club captain, and it was, I suppose, one of the main talking points when Ten Hag got the job in his first few interviews, because there was big cause for Harry Maguire to lose the captaincy on the back of his performances last year. And, I think Ten Hag dealt with this perfectly as well. He really did. He said, no, look, Harry Maguire is going to be captain. And we can see here, this is from a report earlier in the year. Maguire was booed by United and England fans, which I don't agree with, by the way. Let me make that clear first and foremost. In recent months, and according to a new study conducted by Alan Turing, Cristiano Ronaldo is the only Premier League player, when obviously Ronaldo was at the club at the time, to receive more abuse on Twitter than Harry Maguire. However, Ten Hag stuck to his guns, and he said, we don't worry about outside noise, and we've not allowed it to affect his judgment. And he confirmed that Harry Maguire was going to keep the armband and was going to continue on as club captain. And again, if we look back at this in hindsight, I think it's a very shrewd move from Ten Hag, because I think, a lot of talk coming from the media, is Harry Maguire going to keep the captaincy? The pressure was on Ten Hag to make a decision. Questions kept coming up, and he nipped it in the bud straight away. He said, no, Harry Maguire is club captain. I'm not making any changes. He's still club captain for the upcoming season. And I think it was a very smart move, because Ten Hag deep down knows that, okay, he's the club captain, but being club captain doesn't mean you have to play, and doesn't mean you have to start every week. And Ten Hag, as we've seen throughout the season, is very resolute in terms of his starting 11. He tends to pick his starting 11 on form. You know, if you're playing well, you get into the team. If you're not playing well, you're out of the team. And yeah, I think he had his mind made up. We knew straight away that United were going to be in for a centre-back in the summer. We went for Jurrien Timber early on. We couldn't get him, so we went for Lisandro Martinez. Thank God, given how well he's played this season. So, you know, I think it's been a couple of masterstrokes out with Ten Hag. I really do. Let's see what people are saying. Chris is saying here, I think he brings the right attitude. Only game is the next game. Yeah, absolutely. And he goes on to say, Ten Hag off to a good start. Need to make sure his message as a manager stays true year after year. Yeah, and I think that's an easy thing to do when you get off to such a good start, you know. And Ten Hag is setting he's setting the benchmark for the type of, you know, standards he wants within the club. You know, the type of progress he wants, you know, the type of mentality he wants. And look, we've seen it, you know what I mean? We're back to Wembley again, you know, off the back of a great performance last night. Well, sorry, I take that back. Not a great performance, a great result. And we'll talk about it a little bit here before we go on. I mean, and I mentioned it in my match review last night, that there is slight worries creeping in my opinion, in relation to Manchester United's performance, and we don't control the game enough. We're not controlling games enough, you know, and we're allowing other teams to dictate the tempo. But Roy Keane mentioned it really well in his post-match commentary last night, that to go on and win these types of competitions, you need a bit of luck, you know, and Manchester United certainly got their fair share of luck last night. But in a way, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying, you know, and from opposition fans particularly, you know, Fulham dominated Manchester United last night. And I would certainly disagree with that. They were the better team. Of course they were. But they were 1-0 up when we got the penalty, you know, and 1-0 is not domination. It really isn't. And it's the one thing that I will say that Ten Hag is potentially bringing into this squad. You know, he's bringing a mentality. He's bringing a kind of a resoluteness where, you know, we mightn't be playing well, but we're staying in touch with teams, even if we're not playing well, even if we're not winning. And of course, we know last night that, you know, Fulham went into complete meltdown. And it took that meltdown from Fulham for United to take control of the game, being 2 players up, you know. But we finished the game with 2 goals up. So that's the main issue, you know. And I seen the Fulham manager, Marco Silva's interview last night. And he said that, you know, we were by far the better team, and we deserve to get more out of the game because we were the better team for the majority of the game before that incident happened. And I'm saying to myself, yeah, all right, okay. You know, credit where credit is due. You were the better team up until that point, but you still completely melted down. You threw the ties out of the pram. You got sent off. Okay, Willian denied a clear goal scoring opportunity with his hand on the line, so that's a red card. And then Mitrovic done what he done. You know, you completely lost control, and United took advantage. So tough muff, if you're asking me. So yeah, look, really happy to be into a semi-final. Ten Hag again, one trophy in the bag already. We're into a quarter-final of a Europa League, into a semi-final of an FA Cup, and you know we have a good grip on top 4. Job's still not done yet, but so it's been a great first season so far. I'm really happy with him. I love the standards he's setting. I love I love the fact that the players are buying into what he wants out of him as well. So it's been really, really good. I have to say, it's been really good. We're going to talk as well, guys, about obviously Casemiro's a big loss. And we've had, we've had a stage already this season without him, and we done okay. You know what I mean? We done okay without him. I think we unbeaten without him, or maybe we lost one game when he was gone. But we certainly didn't look like falling away. We kept a good record while we didn't have him. And of course, look, the opposition supporters and the ex-Liverpool pundits tend to jump on the bandwagon and jump on any negativity surrounding Manchester United when they get a chance, especially this dickhead, Graham Souness. I think he takes every opportunity he can to jump on Manchester United, when they have any bit of a blip in any way, shape, or form. He's very I don't remember any Liverpool pundit, ex-Liverpool player coming out and praising Manchester United in any way outside of the fact that, oh yeah, they played well today. It's every opportunity they get, every bit of negativity that surrounds the club in any way. Obviously, the 7-0, they couldn't wait to jump on it. They haven't stopped talking about it since. And Graham Souness has gone on and he's been talking about Casemiro over the past few days. And he's talking to the Daily Mail of all places. So that'll tell you the quality and the standards that Graham Souness puts himself in. He's on TalkSport, which we all know is a very extremist sports station and looks to amplify a lot of stories that are not really big stories. But Graham Souness has fired a stern warning at Manchester United star Casemiro over his disciplinary record after the Brazilian picked up his second red card of the season last weekend. He goes on to say that Casemiro at Manchester United is not a dirty player either, but he does have a record. He told the Daily Mail in the aftermath of the Brazilian sending off against Southampton, consider this, in the last 3.5 seasons for Manchester United and Real Madrid, he's been booked 53 times. That is astonishing. He has also been sent off 3 times. His latest red card coming against Southampton last weekend. As I say, I don't think he's a malicious player, but over the course of a 10-year career, he's averaged about 15 yellow cards a season, and you don't rack up them numbers like those by accident. Now, when you're playing in central midfield and you play the way Casemiro plays, he plays a high-intensity game. He's in an area of the field that you have to be putting tackles in, that you have to be strong, you have to be challenging. So I think it's natural for a player to be of his position to be picking up yellow cards, and I think for someone like Graham Souness to be coming out and saying things like that. And this is one of the dirtiest players in history to ever play the game, putting in challenges like this that we've seen on the screen. I think it's very, I think it's ironic that it's someone like Souness coming out saying this kind of tosh, And again, it goes back to what we were saying about, ex-Liverpool players that are now in the, on the media circuit, trying every opportunity they can to highlight any minor issues that are going on with Manchester United. And I think it's something we have to get used to, but I don't think it's something that should really be distracting us. You know what I mean? And I think someone like Graham Souness, I think he was on TalkSport for 3 or 4 weeks and supposedly out of his own back decided to stop doing it. So, but when he's going and doing interviews for the Daily Mail, these non-reputable outlets, then we know what we're going to be dealing with, really, don't we? Let's see what Chris is saying here. Says, Ten Hag gives McTominay a chance to play and then shows he isn't the right player. Yeah, look, McTominay didn't have the best of games last night. He really didn't. But look, obviously Casemiro is going to be a big loss over the coming few weeks. But look, I think we can deal with it. I think we have. Not that the games are favourable, because we do have some interesting games coming up in relation to in relation to what games is he going to miss? Let me just double check it here, because obviously I do know the Newcastle game is one, So obviously he missed the first game last night in the FA Cup, so he has 3 more games. It's Newcastle away, Brentford at home, and Everton at home. So they're not particularly easy games. They really aren't. Obviously Newcastle away, that would be a big 6-pointer for us. I think if we can beat Newcastle, it'll probably put them out of reach from catching us. But Brentford are playing well this season. That's not going to be an easy game either. Now, of course, Everton are struggling this season, so you would be hoping we could pick up 3 points there. But look, Casemiro is going to be a loss. Let's hope we can stay within the top 4. Obviously, he's not missing. Well, obviously, he missed the FA Cup game last night. Thankfully, we got over that. And I think last night showed our lack of control when Casemiro is not there. We don't control games well enough when he's not there. So, it's going to be difficult over the coming few weeks once we get back from international duty. And let's hope we can get the job done without him, because, it certainly is going to be difficult. But moving on, guys, let's talk about some transfer news. And obviously, the stories have been starting already about, potential signings in the summer for Manchester United, and where we may or may not look to improve. And Frankie de Jong keeps coming up and keeps coming up and keeps coming up. We seen yesterday he was being interviewed, and again, look, the questions are coming on his end as much as they're coming on the Manchester United end. He was asked in an interview, "You won't go to Manchester United," and he says, "No, I don't think so. You never know, of course, but I'm happy at Barcelona." So look, we know how much Erik ten Hag admires Frankie de Jong. We know how much he tried to get him last summer. But the last thing we want to do is go into another transfer window with this kind of tunnel vision in terms of trying to sign one player. Let's hope it doesn't happen. I think we should set out our stall pretty early. And I think it's pretty obvious that Manchester United do want Frankie de Jong. And Erik ten Hag is more than likely going to test the waters again in the summer to try and sign him. And I think he's a fantastic player. I would love to see him at Manchester United. I really would. But I don't want to waste another 2.5 months of a transfer window trying to sign one player and then panic buying at the end of the window. Now, you could say, and by all accounts, at the end of the transfer window last summer, it was suggested that Manchester United and Casemiro, Manchester United were scouting Casemiro and had him on their list for a long, long time, supposedly. Now, these were the feeders coming out of the club. But when you're putting all of your eggs in one basket in terms of Frankie de Jong for 2.5 months, and in the space of 2 weeks, we go out and sign Casemiro, it doesn't look good in relation to planning and prepping, for a transfer window. So that was the one worry. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I mean, the stars aligned if that was the case, and I'm really, really happy with Casemiro, and, he's going to be there for another, I think we get another probably 2, maybe even 3 seasons after this season of him at a really high level. So I'm really happy with it. But going into the transfer window this summer, you do want to be more prepared. You want to set out your stall. You want to set your deadlines as well. So you go to Barcelona and you go to Frankie de Jong and say, "We want to sign you." And if the transfer window is opening on the 1st of June, you say you have until the 1st of July to make up your mind. You have 4 weeks. You go to Barcelona and you can negotiate in them 4 weeks, in terms of a price. You can put an offer on the table for Frankie de Jong. Here's what we're willing to offer you in terms of a wage, in terms of a 4-year deal, whatever it may be. And then you say to him, if you do not make up your mind in these 4 weeks, then you wipe your hands and you go. And you say, okay, we move on. And you go to the next person on the list, whoever Ten Hag wants. If he's looking at Bellingham, or if he's looking at Nunez, or if he's looking at Moise Caicedo, whoever it may be. But you move on, because the last thing we want to happen in this transfer window is for Manchester United to go into pre-season again and not have the players that Erik ten Hag wants, because we've seen last season, as good as we performed in pre-season in terms of results, and it was a very positive pre-season tour, we didn't have all of the players. We had very few players. Like, if you look at it, I don't think Martinez was there. I don't think Anthony was there. I don't. Ericsson wasn't there. Obviously, Ronaldo didn't go. Casemiro wasn't there. So look, you're looking at this season. You want to be going on pre-season tour, getting the players in that you want and that Erik ten Hag wants, nice and early, and getting them on pre-season tour, getting them to learn and to know what Erik ten Hag wants to be doing, and hopefully then we can start the season a lot stronger, because we've seen last season, we went and lost the first 2 games. So there you go. Let's see what we're saying. Chris says 2 centre midfielders are needed if we don't keep Sabitzer. Yeah, absolutely. And he says we have to be honest. Ericsson has to play limited minutes. Yeah, look, and I mean, Ericsson, you're not going to get 50 games a season out of Ericsson. You're just not. And I think that's why it's important that we do go out and sign players early and quality players in the transfer window as well. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's really important. I really do. But look, let's move it on from there, guys. Obviously, look, there's going to be more transfer talk over the coming days and weeks. We're obviously in the market for a striker, but there hasn't been any major movement on a striker yet. Obviously, Harry Kane and Victor Osimhen are the two. There's been talks of Muani as well. So look, we'll know more about that in the coming days and weeks, and obviously we'll keep you updated, on our daily news shows as we go. So, but yeah, looking forward to it. But to transition off of transfers, but keeping it in mind, a major aspect of this transfer window and its potential success rate is the fact that we have potential new owners coming in. And what we really want to see happening is the new owners coming in and taking over the club before the start of the transfer window. And that's vitally important. Now, we do know, obviously, that this week, Manchester United has been visited by the 2 main bidders. Obviously, Jim Radcliffe was there in person, and then representatives from Sheikh Al Thani was there as well. Jamser is in. Good to see you, pal. Thanks for joining us. So, yeah, and look, second bids are due in by this week. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. And I think that I suppose the gist that's coming out from the media and from, I won't say Manchester United, because they obviously are not putting out anything in relation to this as of yet until maybe a decision is made. But if we look here, and this is coming obviously from Sky Sports, but Sheikh Al Thani would be willing now to overpay for Manchester United with a figure closer to the Glazers' 6 billion price tag. And obviously the second bids are incoming this week. It was previously understood that Qatari bidders were determined not to pay over the odds for the club, but that stance has softened in recent days, coinciding with the delegation's visit to Old Trafford on Thursday. So obviously, in relation to Al Thani and what he's looking to do in terms of buying Manchester United, whatever was said and whatever happened in the visits on last week, they were obviously very impressed with what they've seen in relation to Manchester United, in terms of maybe looking at the books, in terms of potential development of the club. They were obviously very happy. So their stance of not wanting to overpay, according to these reports, has softened, and that in turn will probably put them at the top of the list in relation to being the new owners of Manchester United, you would have to say. Chris says, I fear taking strikers from Bundesliga. Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, they don't adapt well. Yeah, good point. I'll take it, Chris. Jamser says, just to let you know, I'll be putting you in the United Fulham video. That's no problem at all, man. I really appreciate it. It's good. It's good exposure, so I do appreciate it. And Chris says, Radcliffe only looking to buy 69% of the club. Debt would not go away with him. Yeah, and that's a great point as well that Chris makes there. Like, if we're looking at Al Thani here, He's willing to take the club 100%. He wants to have 100% ownership of Manchester United. He's going to also take on the club debt as well. So Manchester United would be debt free. Where, going back to what Chris said there, you're looking at Jim Ratcliffe coming in, and Jim Ratcliffe coming in as a potential owner would only be looking to take on 69% ownership, buying basically the Glazer share of it, and he would be taking the debt off of Manchester United technically, and he would be putting the debt onto his company Ineos. So I think from a Manchester United fan standpoint specifically, when we're talking about Jim Ratcliffe, I think the Manchester United fans have been scarred so much over the last nearly 20 years in relation to our current owners and the fact that they've loaded debt onto Manchester United and they haven't invested. They've taken dividends out of the club. So I think for that reason alone, hearing the fact that Jim Ratcliffe would be keeping the debt kind of in-house with Manchester United / Ineos, I think that's actually, from a fan standpoint, has kind of pushed the fans towards the Qataris. The gist that I'm getting, and I'm probably going to do a poll on it on maybe one of the next lives, or maybe I'll put it up, on the community tab, is I'm getting the gist that Manchester United fans want Qatari ownership over Jim Ratcliffe. So I think this kind of debt and this kind of unlimited money that you would look at if, the Qataris took over, I think that's what Manchester United fans are looking at. I mean, if you want to challenge and you want to compete with the top teams, your Man Cities, and in the future, your Newcastles that have these unlimited funds. Now, Manchester United would always be okay, I think, in terms of funds. But I think, obviously, given the fact of the global reach that they have and the revenue that they bring in and all of that good stuff, I think they would be okay. But if you want unlimited funds and you want to be able to compete with these top teams, the likes of your Cities and your Newcastles in the future, that are state-owned and have unlimited money, your PSGs, this is why fans are looking, and are probably leaning towards, the Qataris taking over. So it's really interesting. Chris says, Radcliffe is funded by American banks that will want a return on investment. Great point as well. They're seeing this as an investment. Now, Jim Radcliffe obviously is he would want the best for Manchester United. He's a Manchester United fan. He's a lifelong Manchester United fan, as we know. But, he's going to be backed by these hedge funds in America, and I think that in itself tends to turn United fans off. I really think it does. And again, look, Chris, you're from America, and this is not a real. I suppose this is not kind of, picking out Americans in any way, but when we've had American owners for 20 years that have treated the club so poorly, I think subconsciously in Manchester United fans' minds, they want to go, no, let's stay away from that. You know what I mean? So it's not something that that I really care about, that I would mind. I've said it on previous streams that, look, I don't mind who takes over Manchester United. I really don't, as long as they put the right people in the right places. They put footballing people making footballing decisions, businessmen making business decisions, and they invest properly in the club. They upgrade the stadium, the training ground, the women's team, the underage team, all this kind of stuff. And they reinvest back into Manchester and the club itself. That's all you can ask for as a fan. So if it's Jim Radcliffe that does that, or it's Al-Thani that does that, I'm happy. You know what I mean? But we have to have owners that are willing to put back into the club what we want. You know what I mean? To bring us to the next step, to put us back on that pedestal of being one of the best teams in the world. That's what we want. It really is. Tyg is in. Good to see you, Tyg. Thanks for joining. Make sure you smash a like on the video, guys. Let's see. Chris says, I would be for unlimited money with the correct men controlling the club in Erik ten Hag. Yep, absolutely. Let's see. Radcliffe is funded by JP Morgan, who wanted to fund the Super League. There we go as well. Yeah, absolutely. And he goes on to say ownership has to come down to how they want to treat the club. It's not about ROI, it's about building the club. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. It's about progressing the club to where we want it to be. It really is. And Taig says Altani won't invest in the women's club. No, he will. He will. He will. He will. And it was part of his statement when uh, he first announced that he wanted to take over. He was saying that we're looking to invest in all areas: the women's, the underage, the obviously the first team, and all of that as well. Look, is the first team going to be priority? Well, if you're looking at where Manchester United get the majority of their fan base, as much as some people mightn't like to hear it, it's from the men's team, it's from the first team. You know what I mean? And it's great that we have a women's team again. That are challenging for the league title this year as well. Now they're probably going to fall short. They've had a couple of poor results in the last few weeks, but it's good to see that we have that kind of interest there as well, because you look at Manchester United fans throughout the world, there's a lot of female supporters throughout the world, and we want to have a female team, and we want them to be doing well also. So for that reason, happy days. We want to see more investment, but we want to see the right thing done. We really do. Look, guys, we're going to leave it there. I really appreciate it. Obviously, this has been the first news show that we've done. I'm trying to get a better background set up here as well. So I'll be going for that the next few days. So a bit of teething issues today, but look, thanks everyone who's joined. If you haven't already done so, or you're watching back, smash a like on the video and leave a comment down underneath if you agree or disagree with anything we were saying. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know who you would like to see signed this season as well. In terms of strikers, in terms of maybe midfielders, whoever you'd like, let me know in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're doing daily news shows in the mornings, Monday to Friday as well. All of the watch-alongs throughout the season as well. So a lot more content coming up in the coming weeks. Chris says, well done. Appreciate it, pal. Chris, I think you were the first subscriber to the channel. 5 a.m. in the morning over there. Is it 6 a.m., something like that? And you're up watching. So I really appreciate it, man. Back tomorrow with some more. We're not doing a podcast tonight, but we'll be back again in the morning with some updates. But yeah, until then, I appreciate everyone watching. We'll see you tomorrow.